Chase, don't do that.
Just been revoked.
All right, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We are here on episode 19 now to discuss the 1989 film The Burbs, starring Tom Hanks, Bruce Dern, Carrie Fisher in a smaller role, and a handful of others, directed by the, some would say, legendary Joe Dante. You got myself, Jim G. Baby.
BG. That means a baby gangster.
Joined with me, as always, is the usual suspect, Steve. How are you, friend?
Yo, doing good, Jim. How are you?
Prot, that's you.
You're such a douche. Oh, God.
Doing well. How are
so
things?
Proud of yourself. Things are good. Things are hot.
Dude, I felt like bloating so bad. I was wondering if I should hold it back, but today I think the high was like 69. Nice. And
Wow.
it was like the humidity actually behaved, so it felt fucking great, and it was overcast like all day.
Well, not to one-up you, but not only is it over 100 here today, but it's also smoky, so...
Ah, fuck.
We got a pretty good thing going on here.
I was just reading the news, and it's like California's next threat: mega floods. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
just taking it in the shorts.
Yeah. I remember a couple years ago, there was like a huge fire out here. And finally, the seasons were changing and a big storm was coming in. So there was like a general sense of relief, like, oh, thank God, this is going to help out. But of course, the news is like, the storm isn't all good. It's going to cause acid rain. Like, thank you, Jesus Christ. Can we just please, celebrate the rain coming in? It's like, well, you're fucked this way too.
Can I have anything? I mean, not to pile onto that, but I mean, acid rain, that's fucking the least of your worries at that point. But it's actually, this too, but it's just, it can be just as fucked like very soon after a fire, because it fucking drags all the burn scars and all the fucking loose sediment and shit, and that could be an issue. But people that have to experience and live in that,
some flash floods,
that's not what you're thinking about, though. You're thinking like, thank God.
Yeah,
because there's a couple.
Right.
Well, it was like if the rain had only come like 2 weeks earlier than it ended up coming, maybe that wouldn't have happened, or it wouldn't have been as bad, So.
Yeah. I mean, on the bright side, there's probably not much left of California to burn, so we should be good pretty soon.
Yeah. Seriously. All right. Well. Yeah, let's get into the main event here, is the Burbs. I can't believe have you ever heard, I guess I didn't ask, have you ever heard of this, or did you know about this and you're just like, yeah, it's not for me, it looks stupid?
I mean, I had heard the name of it. I had no idea Tom Hanks was in it. I had no idea it was like a horror type whatever movie. All I know is I had heard the name of it, and that's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this a straight horror. This is like horror adjacent, or a horror comedy, light horror. But I remember always seeing the case, like the VHS, in like the, because this came out in '89 when I was 4. So like when I got a little bit older, even when I was like 6 or 7, I'd walk by. The case kind of looks menacing, slightly menacing. It's like Tom Hanks with holding like a spatula and a hose, like Suburban Dad, but in the background there's like these clouds that are like super intense, and it looks kind of like a creepy Suburban, so it weirded me out. So I didn't watch it until later in life, probably late teens or so. They used to play it on the Superstation all the time, and like, so that's how
So when I told the missus I was going to be watching this one, I don't know if I told you, she used to work in a video store also. And she said that this was one of her like go-tos to just kind of put on in the background to just have running.
I can see that for sure. Yeah, I must have missed that, like one of those details along the years. I didn't know she worked at a movie place.
It might not have come up. It was a long time ago.
Was this like during high school? Like it was a high school job?
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine where she came from, it was probably like a smaller, it wasn't like a Blockbuster or a Hollywood. It was like a Video Time with a YM.
It's very close to that. But what's funny is it's kind of a small town, and I didn't realize until we were talking about it the other day that this was during the boom of video rental, that in her small little town there were 3 separate video stores all within, a quarter mile of each other, which is just insane now. Like to think about now.
Yeah, I think they had a documentary about the last Blockbuster up in Bend, Oregon, that had been open for like, I think it finally closed down, but yeah, that shit was like not that long ago. That was like the place to be, like on a fucking Friday night or Saturday night sometimes.
Yeah. It was definitely a unique exercise in sort of delayed gratification, because I remember when there would be like a new movie that would come out, and they would be like 10 wide by 6 rows tall, and you had to search behind the display, because they were all display boxes, but it could have been completely rented out, and then you find like the one at the very bottom tucked in the back. Like that was it's different. I mean, not to sound like too much of an old man, but it's just weird that people won't have that experience anymore. Or like going to the front, like, has anybody returned it yet?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's crazy. It's not, I agree, it's kind of an old man thing, but it's not like a source of disdain for me. Like, I had to walk 25 miles in the snow. I mean, it's just entertainment, but it is to me, it's just interesting how different, like, being able to get your fucking hands on virtually anything you want. If you like, pirating shit aside, like, you can find pretty much anything you want. And really, people pirate stuff now for like really obscure, like out of print or director's cut that aren't on a streaming platform. But anyway, yeah, I worked at a video store in high school too, and dude, I remember some nights it was like people were all the way to the back of the store, or like snaked around like half the store. Like, it was fucking tense, man. Like, it was like the same as like if you were like in a restaurant in like the back, and it was like dinner rush, like people want their fucking movies, and if you don't have it, and then you gotta hit them with late fees too while they're trying to get the fuck out of there, and there's 30 people in line, dude. People are not.
I can just see you boiling over with rage.
Yeah, I handled it about as best as you would expect.
Was it better or worse than the time you tried to fight a dad in front of his family during a rec league basketball game?
Hey, man, he got in my face. He stepped me. Well,
I don't even think that's true, because I don't think you had your glasses on. So you were doing that like mole face, like you just turn and like shove this guy.
No, I don't.
That's the way I choose to remember it anyway. In the gym of like 4 people who just happen to be watching, like, whoa. That was awesome. Yeah.
All right. So this is a first time watch for you, and you weren't really familiar. You didn't know anything about the plot going into it, really?
No,
okay.
Nothing.
So what's your instant take? What do you think of this flick?
So every other movie that we've watched up until this, whether it was through like a streaming service that we pay for like Netflix or Amazon, or just through like those free ones, I haven't had to pay for any of them. This one I had to pay $2 for, and it was the worst $2 I've ever spent in my life.
Bold statement. I've spent $2 for a lot of things.
I thought it was horrible. I wanted to fall asleep and die, or turn it off, or just get struck and taken by the Lord. Yeah.
Damn.
And while I was watching it, I was trying to think of like, because there's not a ton of movies that I watch and really dislike. But one that popped into my head when I was watching this, which you'll love the connection, is Joe versus the Volcano. I tried watching that because that's like one of the old lady's nostalgic childhood movies, and I made it maybe like half an hour, and I was like, this is so fucking horrible. We have to turn this off.
Yeah, if I would have known that you didn't like Joe versus the Volcano, I probably wouldn't have incorporated this one into
this goofball ass movie.
I always want.
It's like, it's supposed to be a comedy, but it's not funny. It's supposed to be a horror movie, but it's not scary. It's just the worst of everything put together.
I stack this up with like, I feel like if you like shit like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, you would like.
I've never seen that.
That one's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember Drop Dead Fred was popular when I was a kid, and I remember watching that like, this is fucking awful.
That's one of my wife's comfort movies. She loves that movie.
Really?
I remember watching it when I was younger,
I mean,
and there was like a phase where it was like the most popular thing, and then I completely forgot about it for 20 years, 30 years.
I mean, I like dumb shit, don't get me wrong, and I fully admit that some of the stuff that I like is dumb, but I think it's just a matter of when it like imprints on your brain. That can have a big part of it, just nostalgia wise, or
absolutely,
association.
There's tons of terrible stuff that I only like for that reason, and if I hadn't had a connection to it, I would probably think it's garbage or boring. So,
yeah, longest 100 minutes of my day, that's for sure.
It is kind of a kooky movie, and it's pretty different, kind of its own thing, but that's.
That being said, there were things about it I liked. Like, I liked a lot of the characters, like the Vietnam vet and crazy neighbor. He was the highlight.
The crazy neighbor.
The
Art.
Yeah.
Art's
yeah. Well, wait.
Art's the fat guy that loves to eat, and that's
right.
And,
yeah, he was awesome too.
Rum
and the whole time
is the military guy.
Yeah. And the whole time, Art, it was driving me nuts what I knew him from. And can you guess what it was that I knew
Groundhog
him from?
Day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, he's got a familiar looking face, but when I look him up, he's really hadn't been in that much, which I was pretty surprised by.
Yeah.
He reminds me.
He kind of reminds me
What were
of.
you going to say?
What were you?
I was going to say John Candy.
I was going to say.
He gives me that kind of vibe, and not just because he's fucking fat. I'm fat, so I can say it.
Is he Canadian? I should have looked that up because I got like a Canadian vibe from him. But he kind of reminds me of. Oh, he is Canadian? Nice. Isn't that fun? Let's see. Oh, Saskatchewan.
He has like one or two moments where he lets his Canadian slip. Like, I can hear it.
Yeah. I can't remember what the word was, but I think he said like against or something at one point. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. He reminds me of, do you know Tim Dillon? He's a comedian.
Yes, I can totally see that too. Yeah. He's like a cheeseball, non-blue version of Tim Dillon.
Mm-hmm. Oh man! And also, I've got to say, I don't like wish death on very many people, but I was looking up Corey Feldman on IMDb, like, please God, let him be dead.
No.
Because I wasn't quite sure. He's definitely one of those guys where you could tell me, like, oh no, he's been dead since 2014, and you would believe it. Still kicking. I hate that guy.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Because he's awful. I hate everything he's ever done except maybe Goonies.
Yeah,
but he's not.
I like him a lot in Las Vegas too.
Yeah, I probably haven't seen that in 20 20-ish years,
He's
but
good in that.
I
He's
don't
good
know.
in Friday the 13th. I think it's 4 that he's in as a small child. I think this is pre-Goonies, but yeah, I know he's a pretty inflammatory character.
Yes, I would love to see him inflamed.
Bold. Okay, so getting into this is basically that sucks you didn't like it. There are a couple funny parts I want to touch on. I'm curious what you thought of them, but so this is like
So
I
I
like
started
the
to look up
zoom-in
some
shot.
trivia.
Yeah, go.
I was just going to say, I started to look up trivia, but then just got so angry because I didn't care at all that I read like 2 or 3 little snippets and was like, fuck it, I'm not doing this. but one of the little pieces of trivia included my favorite little tiny part of the movie, so I want to see if you hit on that at some point.
Okay.
But yeah, you were talking about the zooming in part at the
The
beginning.
autistic phrase that pays.
Yeah, I don't have it physically written down this time, but
That's fine.
we'll see if you can sniff it out like a truffle pig.
I'm not armed with a colloquial cornerism this week either. Dude, it's weird, man. Like I'm getting older, not that old, but enough to where I'm like my memory, I can feel it slipping a little bit because I was like, oh yes, colloquial corner, perfect. And I didn't fucking make a note of it. And then today I was like, fuck, what was it? Couldn't remember it for the life of me. Like I sat there trying to think specifically for like 20 minutes. So maybe it'll come to me, but either way. So yeah, the beginning of this flick, I like the Universal logo and like panning right into the neighborhood of the Burbs. And it follows mainly Tom Hanks' character of Ray, who has the week off and he just wants to do like a staycation thing and kind of fart around the house. He looks pretty miserable. And then there's
Yeah, I can understand why.
His neighbor. My favorite part of this movie is Art, his neighbor. He's like the stereotypical like invites himself over, zero boundaries, like a person you should really hate, but in this film I liked him a lot. Just
Yeah.
because it seemed like, and it'll come up in the trivia later too, but it seemed like he was just trying to like push Tom Hanks buttons, like as a character and as an actor, like a human being. And there may be some truth to that, but and then there's another character, Rumsfeld, who we touched on. He's like the stereotypical army dude. He's out front raising the flag every day, and his all of his clothing comes from military surplus, and he's got like this hot wife who's like 20 years younger than him, that everyone, including the main shithead neighbor kid, Corey Feldman, oogles. And then there's Walter, who is like this old dude that lives by himself, has a little doggy that.
So the hot wife.
Yeah.
I swear at some point she referred to him as like, what's his...
Rumsfeld?
Yeah, but his first name is Mark. I swear at some point she referred to him as Uncle Mark. So are we sure it's not his like niece?
No, I think that's his wife. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed that Uncle Mark thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and I did not really even care to check into it, but yeah, because I was like, this is a serious mismatch.
Yeah, totally. So there's and so these are the main cast of characters in this cul-de-sack in suburban. It looks like there's conflict. People say it's in Iowa. Some people say it's in Illinois.
You know, it's funny from the very beginning, because I wasn't sure exactly when this movie came out.
89.
So that opening scene when they start zooming in and it's like showing the neighborhood, I was kind of trying to guess to myself roughly what time frame this came about. And I just kept thinking, like, dude, this has like a serious Edward Scissorhands kind of vibe to it. And it's like a year apart, I guess. Maybe it's just like the film quality, or who knows if they filmed it similar location or whatever. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when I looked it up, and that was 90, and this was 89.
Yeah, I can totally.
God, what a much better movie.
One could argue. Yeah, that's a good call. I definitely pick up on some Scissorhands vibes too. It's got the soundtrack is kind of like it's got that weird kind of funky, not a full on caricature, but like a half a caricature of a suburban U.S. kooky characters. You know, I mean, because there's shit that like totally like. It drifts into like parody mode almost in a couple scenes. One of my favorites actually is at the very beginning when Tom Hanks, who is Ray, when he steps out of his house in his robe, he hears a bunch of weird shit. So this centers on these kooky motherfuckers that seem really creepy that move in at the end of this cul-de-sac, and it's like this decrepit like Halloween like haunted house kind of looking dilapidated suburban home.
It's like the Munsters house or something.
And like their lawn's all unkempt, it's all fucked up, and you can see clear like lines of delineation like green grass, and it turns into like fucking leaves and dead grass and dirt, you know. So they move in and they have weird goings on, and no one sees them come in or out, and they have this weird like in their basement, which is barred off with iron bars, there's a bunch of shit going on and like a bunch of loud explosions and electricity humming. So all these suburbanites here, this rogues gallery is like, you know, it's the new buzz on the street, you know, so they're like looking into what's going on. But one of my favorite parts is when Tom Hanks takes 1 foot over that line of demarcation from like his nice green grass, and he takes 1 step into the Clopex, into like this dingy, it's like, it looks like cemetery, like dead grass, leaves, and all of a sudden like wind kicks up, like a 20-mile-an-hour wind, and it starts hitting him in the face, and he's like, oh, what the fuck's going on? And it's like this weird ominous kind of music, and the wind howls, and then he takes 1 step back into his, you know, nice green grass into his yard, and it just stops instantly. It's like right out of the gate they're hitting you with like, oh, this feels kind of like a parody, like it's pretty tongue-in-cheek. So if you're on board with that, like right away, I think it'd be for you. If you're like, what? This seems kind of kooky. I don't know. I like that about it. So yeah, so a bunch of weird shit's going on, and these 3 dudes start looking into what the hell's going on at this spooky ass house with these creepy people. You didn't like that part?
Have we mentioned who plays the wife?
Oh yeah, yet? Carrie Fisher plays Ray's wife, Tom Hanks' wife. She's got like a real number.
Yeah, and when do you know off the top of your head when like Return of the Jedi came out? Like where this falls in
I want to say I think Return of the Jedi was 83 or 84.
Okay, so not super long afterwards.
Yeah, because number 1 was 79, and then Empire Strikes Back came out in like 81, 82. Yeah, so Jedi came out. They all came out like bang, 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 pretty much. So yeah, this is about 5 or 6 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I was just curious, and I forgot to check.
Yeah, she's in it, but she's really underutilized. Like she's hardly in it. I guess.
Yeah, you think
she's not hardly in it.
You think she would be a big star?
Yeah, but the impact to the movie, I feel like, is wasted on her character. Or you could have just got someone like way lower profile, not to have kind of that expectation, like, oh shit, because at this time it's like she's still got to be a big name. You know, this is Princess Leia, and she's like suburban house mom that's like kind of in the background for the most of it. But Yeah, I definitely think she's underutilized. So yeah, I guess the first thing that happens is they see this Amish Jedediah looking motherfucker with red hair and like a Abraham Lincoln beard come out, and he puts something that could be mistaken for like body parts or something, some kind of liquid, and he's smashing it in the trash, and they're watching and they're seeing what's going on, and then it escalates into the part where like the next day they're like, oh, we're gonna stake out the trash, and then the trash guys come a little early or whatever, and then they haul off that trash and they make a big stink. They try to throw it on the ground and see what was in it, and then they go, and then they finally they put the screws to Ray, because he lives right next to the Clopex. He's like, they're like, you should go up there and say hi to him and start seeing what's going on with him. And then they go up and they knock at the door, and their address is 669. And they take a knock at the door, and that third 9 rotates around, and it's all 666.
Ha ha.
Oh man,
the man up.
you didn't like that? Oh, that was fun. And
Yeah.
Art's foot goes through the floor. Like they go to knock, and then there's like or they go to ring the buzzer, and there's like a hole in the wall, and it's bees, and then the bees attack them, and it's a whole thing. So, yeah, from there it kind of unravels, and like more hijinks ensue, and it kind of like it escalates each kind of thing, and they're like dead to rights that this creepy family is doing some weird shit, and then their neighbor Walter, who has a little dog Queenie, who, fun fact, that little toy poodle Queenie was the same dog that played Precious in Silence of the Lambs. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Remember?
God, because in my mind, I remember. In my mind, they looked like totally different dogs.
Precious.
Was she like a big old fat person?
Come here, Precious. Yeah, well, I think in that movie it's like malnourished looking, and it's like fucking brown and all dingy.
Probably like ratty and like matted fur.
Yeah,
and
and this
stuff.
one it's like it's Walter, who seems like he's pretty light in the shorts. He's like got her all prim and proper and like, all done up, and she's like pure white, like snow white.
It's a fucking show dog, dude. She's got fucking papers.
Thing's Pomeranian. No, I'm not taking. Can't she board it, Walter?
You can't board a fucking show dog, dude.
Where was I going with that? Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, the Walter with the
goes
dog,
missing.
and then he goes missing.
So then they're like,
And then they find the dog.
yeah, these fuckers have something to do with his disappearance. And I guess too, that big fat guy, Art, he kind of planted the seed too. Because do you like that little story when they're like kind of strolling along that one night with Corey Feldman, and he's telling the story of the old ice cream guy Skip, who's the ice pick killer.
Yeah.
I like that part a lot. He's planted that kind of seed, and then I think probably tied for first or second favorite parts is what did you think of Tom Hanks's dream, his nightmare? Did you like that part? Oh, man, you are a tough fucking crowd.
I mean, not normally, I feel like, but yeah, I don't know.
I couldn't. I'm more unenthused about that part. That shit was. I thought it was good. The whole homage to Texas Chainsaw coming through, and then on that big ass fucking that comically large grill, getting ready to get cooked. And one of my favorite parts too is Art when he's dressed up like the fucking Skip, like the ice cream ice pick killer. He's like, "Say Ray, you seen an ice pick around here?" He's all, "Oh fuck." part gets me every time.
I mean, I liked a lot of individual things about this movie, but as a whole, yeah.
Is this just like there's nothing that could have saved this, like better story, or it's just like the type of movie that it laid out? Like you're just like, no, this just isn't my brand.
No, I was willing to give it a shot for sure, and I was holding out hope because there definitely have been times, even just movies we've watched, where not really feeling it, but then it sort of wraps itself up and redeems itself, and it makes the sort of it sort of transforms my opinion of the whole thing based on how it sort of wraps everything up. This was kind of just a slog, and then it gets to the end, and then there's like a double twist at the end, which both times I was like, stupid. And then the second twist comes and it's like, even more fucking stupid.
I always
just waiting for this nightmare to be over. But towards the very end is where my favorite part of the movie comes in, which we can either skip straight ahead to that, or we can keep doing this painful synopsis.
Yeah, I think we can skip to the end. My favorite part is when because I think yours is after this, but my favorite part is when they're in the background, and this is another point of the movie where it's kind of jarring, but I like that they did it. Like when they when Art notices the bone that Ray's dog has digging up from the side yard that connects to the Klopex, these evil fuckers' house, and he digs it up, and it's this big ass like Tyrannosaurus bone looking fucking thing, and he's like, "Hey Ray," he's like, "What kind of bone is this?" He's like, "No, this is a femur."
Ray, this is Walter.
That whole part, how it like zooms, like the camera does this rapid like zoom in, zoom out, and they like, they stretch that whole part out. It doesn't really jive with the rest of the movie at fucking all, besides like maybe that wind scene when he takes one step over the line and becomes windy, like. But I could see that being like jarring, like it just doesn't, it feels dicey, but I liked it, like just these little punctuated moments like that. So that was my favorite part. So skipping to the end, where I'm trying to think, let me see. Shit.
I mean, they all go over there to meet the whole weird fucking family, and it's just like awkward. The wives
Rumsfeld
think
finally
that,
blows up and says, "Hey, let's cut all this cute shit." Like, is it somewhere in there?
Yeah. Oh, no. I was just trying to do a express version of getting us to the end.
You can just skip to the end.
But no, my favorite... Okay, yeah. If you haven't seen it, don't. If you have seen it, you already know. So, my favorite part is like right at the very end or right towards the very end where Tom Hanks comes out after getting blown up in the house, somehow not dying, and he's doing his little speech about how like we're the ones that are fucked up, they're fine, and he's like, I'm ready to go to hospital, and he like jumps on the stretcher, and then he like gets up, picks it up, and throws it in the back of the ambulance, and just like dead weight jumps on top of it. I don't know why I love that so much.
That part is good, and that's
like a little kid where he just like jumps on it, like I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's funny. That's actually he ad-libbed that whole. Did you look into that?
That was like the first or second piece of trivia I read, and then just gave up. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool. Moving on.
Yeah, I guess another little piece of trivia too is I guess most of the lines within were like they had the general framework and kind of like the plot beats of where they wanted to go, but a lot, I guess there was like the first day of filming, there was a WGA, like Writing Guild of America or something, strike. So I guess when that happens, like you can't like actively contribute to a film like with writing that's going to be then filmed and used and recited, from what I understand. So like professional writers that are a part of this guild. So they could still be credited if all their contributions up to that point of the strike were what were used. So a lot of the individual lines were ad-libbed, and that's where like the bulk of which, I mean, a lot of this is just Art and Ray talking. It's mostly their banner, I'd say. It's probably like 70% of this movie, and almost all of it was ad-libbed. So to the movie's detriment, or maybe that's what saved it from being even worse. I don't know, but that dude that played Art is he came up as like a comedian by trade, as in Canada, like just like got right into it like age 17. He like got kicked out of the house or ran away, and like he started doing that, and then he was just in a couple bit roles. So I like his story of like how he made his way into showbiz, but very kind of hard scrabble kind of character. But yeah, most of this movie, like all the lines are just like ad-libbed and like or thought up, you know, while they were doing the shoot, and they did everything sequentially in this film. So they shot beginning to end in sequence. So
That's interesting. I did like the part with Art at the end where they're like, your wife's home and there's a fucking ambulance that crashed through your house. And he's like, my wife's home.
Yeah, for him to be that way, that's funny too, because he's a real fucking piece of work, you know, in this film. So, yeah, you can only imagine.
He definitely seems naturally like a funny person. So that doesn't surprise me that it was. And this was pretty early on for Tom Hanks, like before he got a lot of notoriety, right? Like he had done a couple things, but
yeah. And I was reading too.
Hadn't really broken out yet.
Yeah, I think Big, he won an award, either an Emmy or definitely not an Oscar, but I think he maybe won an Emmy or a Golden Globe, whichever one applies to film, I think, or he was nominated for one, at least, for Big.
Oh, so this was after Big?
I think it was right around the same time. And because of the right,
oh, okay, yeah, because
there was a little delay from the two. I can't really pin down. He probably filmed them in sequence, and then one came out before the other, kind of thing. But at any rate, I think it was when this got released, the Burbs. It had been a year since Big came out, and then he was getting the notoriety from Big. So yeah, while they were filming it, he was probably kind of right in that about to break out area.
Yeah, because Big was really good.
I love that flick. It's awesome. Yeah, I like the end of that double twist you say you didn't really like. I remember watching it at a younger age, thinking that was like cool, seeing the fucking trunk full of skeletons, you know, and like just like how it finally wrapped up, like. Because the whole time you're like, oh yeah, these people are fucking crooked, and they're like, there's something wrong. They are super spooky, and then it's just like, oh, what? They're not. These guys are just fucking, you know, sticking their nose where it don't belong, and so I like the.
Yeah, and then they try to buy it back at the very end, like, no, they are super spooky after all. Like, okay, well, fuck you.
I guess that was an add-on. There were some different endings that they tried to film, one of which involved like two dead like high school cheerleaders in the back of a car, and then like a body just that had been cut up crudely in the back of the car, and then like a completely I think one of the endings that didn't test well was the first ending, where it's just like, yeah, like this is just a case study on these people letting their imaginations run wild and paranoia, and like, yeah, they weren't up to anything, and they caused all this mayhem by being fucking looky-loos, basically. I don't think it tested well, so then they added on later. They came back and filmed a portion, but yeah, this doesn't have the best reviews, but I think it's one of those. It's tied to nostalgia, and it's considered a cult classic for sure. I know a lot of people that love this flick. I haven't really talked to many people that don't care for it, like to the level that you don't. So it's a little funky, because at least people that I've talked to are like, oh yeah, Burbs, whatever, you know. And there's some people like me who are like really like it, and it's like a comfort thing, and you can just kind of have it on and do something else. And then there's a couple points that'll bring you back, like Ray falling off the fucking zaps,
I mean,
seeing the great.
I would put it on. I'd put it on the background if I was gonna like kill myself or something like that. But I think that's probably about
Chase,
it.
don't do that.
Maybe torture a runaway that I had kidnapped or an enemy. Yeah, that's probably about it.
Well, the usual suspects, Steve, have spoketh.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
God.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look how proud of yourself you are.
All right. Well, that's been the Burbs. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, don't watch it. If you really like it for non-nostalgia reasons, you're just lying to yourself, and I hope you can get help. So.
Yeah.
I'm praying for you.
I obviously don't agree, but it's fine. Agree to disagree. My batting average is still super high, so I'm feeling confident. I can pick some winners.
They can't. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, nobody has to like everything.
That's true, for sure. I'm just hoping to bring you to the other side of, because I can never tell if you're just trolling or if it's like legit, but is Street Fighter, the film with Jean-Claude Van Damme, is it legitimately one of your top 3 or top 5 or your favorite movie of all time? Is that legit, or are you going to still play the game?
No, I'd have to put it in a separate like an honorable mention. One of my favorite honorable mention movies. But no, I mean if we're gonna be serious, it's not. I don't hold it in such high esteem as a great film. But no, I do love that movie. That's for sure. I mean, how could it break the top 3 where Expendables 1, 2, and 3 are holding fast?
Yeah, that's why I think you like that kind of shit. You would love the Predator. The Predator films are pretty rad. Even the shitty ones have merit, like the ones that people say are shitty, like AVP, like Alien versus Predator. There's some dope shit in those flicks, but the newest one, Prey, is fucking badass. Yeah. It's like really fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely a sucker for like corny, just generic action movies like, Under Siege or Con Air or stuff like that. It gets a little dicey when it starts venturing into the sci-fi stuff, just because I don't give a fuck and I have this like aversion to that whole world. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't still enjoy it, but it just puts it kind of at a slight disadvantage versus, The Rock or something where it's just mindless.
What in the name of Zeus's butthole? I forget about that part every time, and every time it fucking just knocks me out. I love that. Or when he gets his haircut, that whole sequence where he fucking flings him off the balcony, dude. Yeah. That movie is badass.
It really is.
All right. I have some news. So yeah, that'll put a pin in Burbs. I mean, other people have covered this. This has been covered a lot. It's like it's a comfort food. For me, it's definitely some nostalgia on it, but I like the characters and like the performance and like just the shit that they get into, and yeah, it's a good kind of, you can just turn your brain off.
I almost think I would enjoy the movie more if like the Tom Hanks and the neighbor roles were played by kids, like, because it kind of seems like something a kid would do, like, let's break into the Grady house and see what's going on, but for adults it's like, this isn't I mean, I get this movie's fucking stupid and it's supposed to be, but I feel like if it were kids, it would make more sense, like a Huck Finn type of thing, you know, like let's break in and see what's going on. Let's dig a bunch of holes in their backyard, and that won't have any negative consequences from these people that we think are murderers that we're just going to go break into their fucking house and not expect to be killed by them. But
yeah, I think that's your problem. This is your problem. No, I think no, I just think you're putting too serious of glasses on it, which is fine. There's some movies where I do that too. That's my opinion.
There's a level of suspension of disbelief that's necessary that I'm fine with for sure, but just the overall goofball ass level, we hit the rev limiter on this one, and I just couldn't go back any further. And Corey Feldman, god damn it.
Yeah, I can see if you got a real aversion to a certain person too. Like I know there's people like that I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to fucking even entertain that. So,
Boy, I wish I had something to knock your ass out with.
I'd knock your ass out.
Wow.
Oh, hey. All right. So, split decision. What's your opinion of Hard Target? Great film or the greatest film?
I've never seen it.
This is one
I don't think I've seen
Hard
it.
Target is Jean-Claude Van Damme playing like a French Cajun bayou like assassin specialist that pals around with fucking Wilford Brimley. Explosions. He shoots a bow and arrow, I'm pretty sure, on horseback. Yeah.
Quit drilling, buddy. You already hit oil.
Dude. Yeah.
Hard
and
Target.
He's got like a mean ass perm mullet. The entire wearing like denim button up shirts the whole time. Like,
hell yeah. Ooh, 93 Prime.
Oh shit! I didn't know John Woo directed that. That's nuts.
Ooh, and there's a sequel from 2016. Of course there was.
Do not watch that. Yeah, that one's fucking awesome. I would say that could be a good flick to review. That would be a fun one to review, I feel like. So put that one on your radar. We could even talk.
Looks like it's on Netflix.
We could even talk about it next if you wanted to next show, because I don't have anything lined up. Or did you see anything from that Reddit fucking unsolved mystery rabbit hole?
Yeah, there was almost too much that I did like top level reading about a bunch of stuff. Like, I should come back and read more into this because it's hard to get a full idea from just a quick little blurb.
Right. Yeah, you want to talk about truffles? There's some fucking truffles in there for sure.
Yeah, there's an almost unlimited supply of crazy stories out there.
Okay. Well, I think we'll decide on that later. So TBD for next episode, but that'll put a pin in the old Burbs there. So I have some on a housekeeping kind of front. We did get a new comment on slightly older episode 16 on when we did a fistful of dollars. I think there was a question in the episode where I was trying to come up with a name of another good Clint Eastwood Western, and it was Pale Rider. I couldn't figure it out because I always confused it with Pale Rider, Easy Rider with fucking yeah. So I was like, no, it's not that. I thought it was Pale something else, but anyway, yeah, Pale Rider is super dope with Eastwood. So it's this person corrected me. It's from Mailbox Uno. He said, yeah, it's Pale Rider. It's a pretty dark flick. One you must cover is High Plains Drifter. That's the one that I have seen for sure. That was my intro to Eastwood Westerns. He says, I won't spoiler y'all, but you'll dig it. The must-see, though, the other must-see is The Outlaw Josie Wales. And that's one I've heard plenty of times, and I'd kick myself. I've never seen it. I've heard a lot of great things about that one, too. Like, that's up there with, like, what's his name? Butch Sundance and the
Butch
Butch
Cassidy.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Yeah, I've heard it, mentioned up there and with that level of Western. So, High Plains Drifter is fucking badass. We could add probably all those to the list at some point in the future.
Yeah, I'm down. We could do the Josie Wales if you want, or I guess we can just kind of check to see what's available where.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So yeah, anyway, thank you, Mailbox Uno, for listening and appreciate the comment. If you want to reach out to us about the Burbs and tell Steve why he is wrong, or anything else you want to chime in on,
Please do. And I'll send you a link about getting your mental health evaluated.
You can do that at waxingtheporpoise.com or on one of our socials. Instagram is waxingtheporpoise and Twitter is at waxingtheporp. That'll do it for this episode. Anything else you got going on that you want to talk about?
Nope. Nothing here.
G, baby.
Nope,
Gangster,
no, sir.
baby.
Yeah, what is that from?
Dude, don't you remember? I used to say it. I used to quote it frequently. It's a super obscure part. If no one's seen this, check it out. It's Beef from 2003. It's like a rap documentary about all the beefs from like 1979, starting with like Cool Mo D and Busy Bee, all the way up to like, present day at the time, like 2003, like Nelly and KRS-One, which is a wild ass beef to even think about. And, like East Coast, West Coast, they get into that, like Tupac and Biggie, and I think it's like 50 Cent in the Game they touch on. And yeah, but it goes through the eras. So it goes from like Kool Moe Dee and like Busy Bee, which is like the original like 70s, more kind of like pop rap before it started getting harder edged into like the 80s and KRS-One and like the early 90s, Notorious B.I.G. And then the West Coast, it goes into NWA. And that clip is the shortly after NWA got big, they had that division because Eazy-E was fucking with everyone's money, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and so he split.
Well, he got his.
Yeah, didn't work out for him, but, old Eric. But yeah, he when they split, he was talking mad shit about Dr. Dre, which I guess in that thing, it's, what is it called? It's like World Wrecking Crew or something that Dr. Dre was in, and he used to like put lipstick on and wear like red suits, like he was like Prince and shit. And then what's his face? Eazy-E is like just mad dogging him hard about all that shit, and like how he's like, he came into NWA and he thinks he's gangster and all this shit, and he's like, he is not an OG, he is a BG. That's a baby gangster. Like, just that fucking line, dude. I love it every time because he looks so
I do remember you saying like, "Oh, he's just a baby gangster," but the context I never
it was Eazy-E fucking talking shit about Dr. Dre. Because he always talks about like, I'm an OG, I'm from Compton. He claims Compton and all this. He's like, he didn't claim Compton. Yeah, Beef from 2003 is an excellent rap documentary from rap's origins to the present, which at the time was 2003. Fucking awesome.
Yeah, and also Prince sucks.
Oh,
so
not in my house.
Yeah, he's awful.
Don't do it. My wife hates Prince too, so I bought my fucking son a purple rain shirt.
She's right. Oh,
yeah.
God. Prince is awful.
Go listen to Computer Blue. Bat Dance. Get your mind right. All right.
Bat dance. No.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm super proud of myself because he just a BG. He's a baby gangster. I fucking fucked with the audio and I changed it around to be G baby, gangster baby.
G.
Play it
I mean-
again.
G. Baby. That means a gangster. Baby.
Okay, that's why it sounds so fucking weird.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was so proud that I did that.
All right.
Oh yeah, this is the original clip.
OGs do
Nice.
stuff back in the day. Dre is a BG. That means a baby gangster.
Like, every time, he a baby gangster. All right, that's gonna do it for us. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.